Imagine waking up one morning to find your phone flooded with messages, not from friends or family, but from strangers accusing you of being a thief, a fraudster, someone who refuses to pay her debts. Except you never took the loan they're talking about. Somewhere along the line, your personal contacts, your photos, and your identity were hijacked, and within hours, a network of apps you've never even opened turned your entire social circle against you. This is not a rare glitch in the system. This is happening to thousands of Nigerians right now, and the apps responsible for it are sitting quietly on the Google Play Store, disguised as harmless financial help. Today, we're naming names, exposing exactly how these apps operate, and showing you the warning signs before one of them gets its hands on your data. Welcome back to Naira Lens. I'm Tunde, and this is the story of how digital lending in Nigeria turned into digital extortion. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next investigation. And if this video opens your eyes even a little, drop a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. Let's start with how this entire system is supposed to work, because on paper, it sounds like a genuine solution to a real problem. Millions of Nigerians don't have access to traditional bank loans, either because they lack collateral, a credit history, or simply the patience to deal with slow bureaucratic processes. Digital lending apps promise to fix that. Download an app, enter your details, and within minutes, cash lands in your account. No paperwork, no waiting in line, no need to explain yourself to a loan officer. For a country where financial inclusion has always been a struggle, this sounded like progress. And to be fair, some licensed digital lenders genuinely operate this way, backed by real microfinance banks, complying with data protection laws, disbursing funds transparently, and offering real customer support when something goes wrong. But somewhere between that promise and reality, a parallel industry emerged, one built not on convenience, but on fear. These are the apps now widely referred to as loan sharks, and unlike their legitimate counterparts, their entire business model depends on one thing: humiliating you into paying, whether you owe the money or not. Here's how it actually works. A fake loan app typically offers incredibly short repayment windows, usually somewhere between 7 and 14 days. This alone should raise alarm bells, because Google's own Play Store policy requires a minimum loan tenure of 60 days for any lending app. Any app offering shorter terms is already operating outside the platform's own rules, which tells you something about how seriously these apps take regulation in the first place. During the sign-up process, these apps request permission to access your contacts, your photos, your SMS messages, and sometimes even your call logs. Most users click accept without thinking twice, because the app promises instant approval, and who reads permission requests when they need cash urgently? That single click is where the real transaction takes place. Not the loan itself, but the harvesting of your personal network. The moment repayment is even slightly delayed, sometimes by just a few hours, the harassment begins. Borrowers report receiving hundreds of abusive messages within the same day, but the real damage isn't done to the borrower directly, it's done to everyone in their contact list. These apps send messages to your family, your coworkers, your old classmates, accusing you of fraud, sometimes attaching your photo, sometimes fabricating claims that you're a criminal on the run. Regulators, including Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, have documented this pattern extensively, describing it as a system that relies on fear and humiliation rather than lawful debt recovery. Now let's talk about specific names, because vague warnings don't protect anyone, specifics do. Investigations have identified a growing list of apps engaging in these predatory tactics. CashMall has been flagged repeatedly for contactless shaming and defamatory broadcasts sent to a borrower's entire network. CashLion has been accused of invading users' phone data while enforcing brutally short 7-day repayment traps. Fast Money was previously banned after widespread harassment complaints, yet similar apps continue to resurface under new names. LendCash has drawn complaints over abusive recovery messages combined with illegal hidden fees. LCredit stands accused of spying on contacts, media files, and private messages well beyond what any legitimate lender would ever need. NairaPlus has been linked to blackmail-driven collection tactics alongside unauthorized charges. And then there's Sokoloan, widely described as one of the most notorious loan shark operations still active in the space. Here's a case that shows exactly how dangerous this system can become, even for people who never asked for a loan in the first place. A Nigerian woman named Yetunde had her SIM card compromised by a scammer. Using her identity, the scammer downloaded multiple loan apps, including NairaPlus, LCredit, True Naira, GoCash, CashLion, and LCredit, entered fabricated financial details and let each app's algorithm generate an instant credit approval, a process that took less than an hour per app. Because these apps request contact list access as part of approval, the scammer's fraudulent loans were immediately tied to Yetunde's real network of friends and family. 1 month later, when repayments came due on loans she never took, the harassment began, not against the scammer, but against her. She filed a police report, received assurances that the threatening messages to her contacts would stop, and 2 weeks later, her friends were still forwarding her screenshots of continued threats from the lending companies. This raises an uncomfortable question that I think deserves real attention. If a scammer can hijack your SIM card and take out loans in your name within an hour, and if these apps are barely doing any real identity verification beyond an algorithm scanning fabricated details, then how many of the people currently being harassed by these apps are actually being punished for debts that were never even theirs to begin with? We're going to come back to that question in a moment, but first, there's something important you need to understand about why these apps keep coming back even after being banned. In May 2024, Google took decisive action, removing 47 fake loan apps from the Play Store after an investigation revealed they were operating illegally, violating both the platform's lending policies and Nigerian consumer protection law. This was celebrated at the time as a major win for Nigerian borrowers. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Banning an app doesn't ban the people running it. Many of these operations simply rebrand, relaunch under a new name, and repeat the exact same predatory playbook within weeks. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission continues working with Google to identify and remove new violations, but it's essentially a game of whack-a-mole where enforcement always lags a step behind the next rebrand. To be fair to the regulators, this isn't a story of complete inaction. The Central Bank of Nigeria has published fraud and scam awareness guidance directly to the public, encouraging victims to report incidents to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Nigerian Police Force, and the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has taken real enforcement action, and licensed digital lenders backed by actual microfinance banks do exist and do operate within the law, offering disclosed fees, verified bank disbursement, and functioning dispute resolution channels. The system isn't entirely broken, but the gap between regulation and the speed at which these fake apps multiply remains wide open, and that gap is exactly where ordinary Nigerians keep falling through. So how do you actually protect yourself from becoming the next Yetunde or the next person whose contact list gets weaponized against them? There are a few clear red flags worth remembering. Any app promising guaranteed approval with no income documentation and no background check whatsoever should immediately raise suspicion, because legitimate lenders always verify who they're lending to. Any app demanding upfront payment before disbursing your loan is almost certainly a scam, since real lenders deduct fees from the loan amount itself, not before it's even paid out. Avoid downloading any lending app from unofficial sources like WhatsApp groups, Telegram channels, or random websites, since these unregulated files are frequently used specifically to bypass Play Store safety checks. Before applying anywhere, take the time to check whether the lender is actually approved by the central bank or the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, and read genuine user reviews rather than trusting flashy advertising alone. Now back to that question I raised earlier about how many people being harassed right now are being chased for debts that were never legitimately theirs. The honest answer is that nobody has a precise number, because most victims, embarrassed by the public shaming tactics these apps use, never report the harassment at all. That silence is precisely what allows this predatory industry to keep operating at scale. Every unreported case is one less data point regulators have to act on, and one more reason these apps feel confident enough to keep rebranding and relaunching. What's happening here goes beyond simple bad business practices. It's a system that has learned to exploit two things at once: genuine financial desperation and the very real cultural weight of public shame in Nigerian society. These apps don't need to physically threaten you to be effective. They just need to convince your uncle, your pastor, your former classmate that you're a fraud, and the psychological damage does the rest. That's what makes this a story worth telling in detail, not just as a warning about specific apps, but as a case study in how technology can be weaponized against the very people it claims to serve. We'll be tracking this story going forward, including any new enforcement actions from the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, and any newly identified apps using these same tactics under fresh names. If you've personally dealt with harassment from any of the apps we named today, or if you know someone who has, we want to hear about it, because the more documented cases we can bring together, the harder it becomes for regulators to look away. So here's what I want from you. If this video helped you understand something you didn't know before, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment below telling us whether you or someone you know has ever experienced this kind of harassment from a loan app, because your story could be exactly what someone else needs to read before they make the same mistake. And if you think this information could protect someone you care about, share this video with them today, not next week, today. Because the next person targeted by one of these apps could be someone in your own contact list. Subscribe to Naira Lens so you don't miss our next investigation into Nigeria's financial system. Until next time, I'm Tundi. Stay informed and stay protected.